It's not a typo, 2020. It's taken me that bloody long to get here. And hopefully it will all be over in 12 minutes. Before I start, just have to really thank these guys. As I said, it's been a long journey, and without their support, we wouldn't have this opportunity to present on my findings. Before I get into it, just a bit about me and who I am. I'm manager of disaster farms in the Macquarie Valley. We have daily fuck-ups all the time. And to the new scholars, these things just seem to happen on your GFP or when you're over the other side of the world. So it's just my little way of saying thank you to my team at home because, we've just got a wonderful team and you don't really find out about these issues, which is what you want from your team, and they just keep the show going. What do I do? So we're winter and irrigated cropping. The dryland side of the business is pretty much wheat, canola and chickpeas. And then our irrigated side of the business is mainly cotton in summer. And then we do seed production and niche food markets as well. Before I get into the red dirt, I just really want to bring you guys on the journey that I've been on and what led me down this path in my study topic. And it was this graph here that really, I guess, started the high-level learning. This is just from our benchmarking group in Central West New South Wales. I guess it shows we've got two hats on. If you really look at the red line, that's the asset and the capital growth we've experienced over the last 5 years. As an asset owner, I'd be really happy with some of those returns that we're seeing, and you guys are going through this in the room as well. But we've got a range there from 15 to 25% capital growth. Like it's been extraordinary. Great time if we entered in the market at the start. But then I put my manager hat on, and it's the blue line that I guess is the real question. We've got a range of returns there from 3 to 10%. I just don't know, and what I'm trying to work out is if that's sustainable going forward and how we pay the bills with those returns. Again, there's a lot going on in the graph. You don't have to focus on too much bar the pink section. And basically, since 2014 to 2023, our direct costs have doubled. We've added an extra $300 a hectare to what it's costing us to produce these crops. And I guess it just means our margin's getting skinnier. So for us, that meant a lot of internal looking at the business and working out what wasn't working, and it was our irrigation asset, and particularly on our red dirt. It was trying to work out why this asset wasn't working, and it was overcoming these challenges of red dirt. The photo on the left there is a farm I visited in the Macquarie-Darling Basin, and that water there had been running for 12 hours in that field, and it's just not infiltrating into those middle runs, and that's having huge issues on crop production. The other poor little fella on the right, let's call him Frank. Frank's dead. He didn't make it. So that hard permeable layer there is a serious challenge for us in irrigating red dirt, and we call it crusting. It just means our cotton isn't getting established well. We're having gaps throughout the season, and again resulting in yield loss. The other issue with the red dirt is just in nature, it's got a smaller bucket, a smaller watering holder capacity. So we might only be dealing with 120 to 160 mils, where other verticile soils, they might have a range of 180 to 240 mils. And I guess once I understood that it was the red dirt that was letting us down, it then led me to the next part, which is really, really simple. And I loved Ian's presentation yesterday because it's amazing how you can apply his presentation to a cotton production system as well, and it all started with the soil. I'm no soil scientist anymore, but I spent a lot of time with this guy, and it's Dr. Pat Holm, and he's a soil scientist in New South Wales, and if anyone gets the opportunity to go around with him, I highly recommend it. I've never eaten more dirt in my life, except for spending time with him, but it just really sets the tone for, it all started at the ground. And And I've got texture, structure and health there, and I would add biodiversity as part of that health in the soil, because I think once I understood that, it then allowed us to try and overcome these challenges. So what did I do? I went out and studied 3 systems that I thought could overcome the challenges of the problem. And these 3 systems were bankless channel irrigation, overhead sprinklers or pivots, but really looking at the cover cropping under the pivots. And then I looked at what asset we already had, which is existing flood irrigation, and why can't we just do it better and make that system work? And in amongst that and in the report, I go into the advantages and disadvantages, the costs, and I guess coming back to the crux of the question is, can we make this red dirt work? So the first system, it's not a new concept, but it's had a large uptake in the last 10 years, particularly in the northern half of the Murray-Darling Basin. It's been down in the Riverina and the Rice for a long time, but it's really evolved. I must admit, when I first looked at this bankless channel, a large reason for adoption of this was due to labour. I would argue that the labour saving is actually just an additional benefit of what we were trying to adopt it for. How did it overcome my challenge? I really think of it as a big bathtub. I could then hold the water on my field for the time I wanted to allow the infiltration, and if you think of that gate as just the plug of the bathtub, I can then pull the plug when I want to. So it was really helping us overcome that infiltration issue and able to hold the water on the soil for longer. There is heaps of different designs of bankless, and I'm not going to go into them today, but I do go into them in my report. You can see the cost up there, anywhere from $2.5 to $5 grand a hectare. It's a serious investment for us. And the main cost of that is in shifting the soil and the concrete structures. Concrete is expensive. It is a serious cost, and I guess the larger you can make the bays, it brings down that cost per hectare as well. The next system, centre pivots. Again, everyone knows centre pivots, and it was amazing to fly into Launceston the other day, even though I didn't really want to look out the window. But there's pivots everywhere, and personally, I love pivots, and it was just trying to understand how we can utilise pivots within the cotton system to overcome the red dirt challenge. And it's retained stubble. This cover cropping, I know it's been a buzzword for a few years, but it is really, really increasing our yields for us on our farm. This is a photo in Texas on my travels. These guys over there are doing it well. I don't often say that about the Americans, but no, they're having a crack as well, and it's great to see. Why is the retained stubble doing what it's doing? Again, it's protecting those little cotton seeds at emergence. It's having greater impact on the soil health. I believe it's increasing the biodiversity of the soil, and then that's impacting our water infiltration and allowing that water to maintain in the soil for a longer period of time. Finally, the third system I looked at was, as I said, looking at our original system, which is flood irrigation, and why can't we just make it better? This is a photo of a farmer in the Murray-Darling Basin that's got retained stubble or a cover crop in Red Hills, and the idea there is that he'll terminate this crop leading up to planting, leave the stubble there throughout the season, and hopefully that'll help with his water management. I do like looking at this system because the field's already been developed, so we're not having to go and spend that $2.5 to $8 grand a hectare for these other systems. So yeah, I think it's got some really, really good merit. It was funny in my research, I was going back through a lot of old journal articles. They did this in the late 90s and early 2000s, and they moved away from it for logistical challenges. I do think we can overcome those logistical challenges and hopefully increase our yields along the way. So they were the three systems I focused on to try and overcome the challenges. And now I want to share with you, I guess, what I actually found. So this is just a photo. There was meant to be a bit of sound, but that's cool. So this works. I guess in the true Nuffield experience, we go and practice what we preach. So we're now doing it. So I guess what have we done at home? Yeah, we've gone and installed more pivots at home. We've installed bankless irrigation development as well, and that's a young wheat crop emerging in just existing flood irrigation. The photo on the left with the pivots, I just guess, tying it all in. Pivots probably are my preference at this stage. They just give us so much system choice. That cotton crop there that's growing, that was in a wheat crop that got frosted on the 23rd of September last year. So we were then able to go in, we cut the wheat for hay. It did 7 tonne to the hectare at $350 a tonne. By the 15th of October, we had cotton planted in it. That crop's just done 13.5 bales to the hectare. Now that pivot has chickpeas behind it. Chickpea price is going well so far. So Stefan, please keep the chickpea price under control. And I just think the pivots potentially, they're giving us a lot more options and choices. And we're not defined to irrigated cotton or a 40-inch system under the pivots. On a side note, interestingly, everywhere I travelled, no one could convince me to install a lateral. So if you're thinking about overhead irrigation, and I'm sure, Watto, you can probably back me up here a little bit, I just haven't found anyone that can sell me a lateral, besides a salesman, but yeah. The bankless irrigation, it's been a great journey as well. I think the biggest concern for me with bankless is it's just shifting the dirt. I feel like, we've farmed this beautiful landscape and we've built up all our organic matter, and then we go and put a bloody 5 scrapers on it and burn a shitload of diesel. We're getting it back to square one. Yes, we're topsoiling when we're moving dirt, but it really scares me what we're doing to that, I guess, coming back to that biodiversity and that soil health when we do that style of development. And is that then making the challenges of red dirt, is it amplifying them or setting us back too many years before we get recovery, I guess? What did I find? Well, one happy farmer. So we really have changed our cotton system, and we've increased our yields, which, has increased our returns. And then going back to those original graphs, we're getting better return on our asset managed. We've made huge mistakes along the way, but I guess that's farming, and I guess I'm here to share some of those mistakes. So if you want to find out what we did stuff up, please come and see us down in the Macquarie Valley. And then finally, for the recommendations, I guess it comes back to what I said. It's knowing your soil. Once I understood my soil and what I wanted to achieve in that soil, it really allowed us to go forward. The costs are huge. These are serious investments that we're making, and so we need to understand those costs. I just want to put one thing, the long-term investment. I mentioned Watto before, but I was fortunate enough to spend a bit of time with him, and we travelled to the States, and he just said one thing to me. He told me his age, and I'm not going to reveal Watto's age today, but I'll reveal my age. So if I'm 30 years old and I want to retire when I'm 60, that means I've only got 30 crops left, to do this. And so that's why we've got in and done it, because 30 crops, when I say it like that, it just doesn't seem like a long time. And I guess, for anyone out there, I'd encourage you to go on the journey and take the leap as well. Engage in a professional designer and ask lots of questions along the way. Finally, just a huge thank you to Nuffield. We're the dreaded 2020 year that just keeps dragging on. And to my investors, and also not just mine, but all the sponsors and investors in the room, you guys are continuing to grow, really, and it's just great. So that's it. Happy days. Thank you.